Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Hey, welcome to Movie Friends. I'm here with my friend Michelle Rubenstein, who is obviously not a golfer.
And I'm here with my friend Seth Vargas, who abides. And I take comfort in that.
What's going on?
How are you, Seth? It feels like we haven't done this. We were all thrown off last week.
We were off for 1 week and it threw our whole world into disarray.
I know. I turned on my mic and I heard myself speak and I was like, oh, it feels good to be home.
I got a drink. I got a beverage here.
I see that. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a White Russian
How fitting.
because I wanted to dress up. Michelle is dressed up as Walter.
Inspired by.
Inspired by Walter.
Yeah.
And I went to get stuff today at the thrift store and they didn't have anything. I struck out. So I was like, well, I'll just drink a White Russian the whole episode.
Do you generally like this drink?
No, I don't drink almost ever.
Yeah.
And so, gotta tell you, not loving this. But
Is it similar to a mudslide? It's the same color.
yeah, so Mudslide is my favorite drink.
Right.
It's a chocolate milkshake.
Right.
This is Kahlua, vodka, and heavy cream because I didn't have half and half or milk. So the little fat particles are forming little fat
Okay.
globules on the ice.
I'm getting vom.com nage.
If you hear clinking, that's my White Russian.
I like this tiny coffee stirrer straw that you're using to drink it. Could it get any tinier?
Remember the opening of Face Off when Nick Cage has the mustache and then he goes on the straw? It's great.
Yeah.
Hey, so you had a cool thing this week.
I did.
We recorded off schedule because you were doing something.
We did. My friend Sam, her debut book came out. When I start my business, I'll be happy. A practical no BS guide to successful online
Wow, you got the
entrepreneurship.
tag. Wow.
Of course, I got to promote my girl. Yeah, but it
Mhm.
was a full week of launch events and multiple parties and going into bookstores and having her sign the book. Very fun.
That's great.
Very proud of her.
Yeah. Writing a whole book. Whoa.
Isn't it? It's fascinating. And I'm like, I have my copy and I've been with her through the whole process. I'm like, it's almost like I can't believe it.
Right. Yeah.
It's so impressive.
Yeah. To bring something forth into the world
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to like hold a finished product.
A good finished product.
Well, of course.
Of course.
Well, I didn't do anything cool like that this week. As I mentioned, I did go to the thrift store to try to find some Lebowski clothing, and they had a really large DVD and VHS section. So I was like perusing, and then I'm perusing some more, and I'm like finding some really cool, great stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to do the most embarrassing movie guy thing that I've ever done. And I tried to like talk myself out of it, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I walked up to the counter and I was like, hey, are you the owner? And he was like, no, why? And I was like, can I volunteer to reorganize your DVD and VHS section?
Wow.
So he gave me the owner's number and I called him and I was like, hey, I know this is really weird. I would really like to do this. And he was like, actually, I have someone in town who loves books and she comes in once a week and reorganizes our book section. And he's like,
Wow.
so of course you can. And I was like, wait, this guy's just getting free labor.
That's right.
But then I was like, you know what? This will be a nice, fun little hobby.
That's cute, Seth.
I'll bring my son.
There you go. So
Alphabetized together.
is this a very, very large selection?
Yeah, hundreds of DVDs and VHS. And so that's what I'm up to this week.
I wonder how many times you'll have to reorganize it, because by the time you go back, it'll probably be out of order.
Right. Yeah. Well, I ain't going every week, I can tell you that.
Right.
So, we both accomplished things this week.
We sure did.
Hey, we also got an email.
Email.
Subject line is Bend It Like Beckham. I think Bend It Like Beckham, by the way, is the most sports movie out of all of Sports Month.
Thank you. I went on a whole rant about this to whoever would listen in my vicinity about this month
yeah?
and the theme. Mm-hmm. And how I feel that my choice was the most sports-like.
It absolutely was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even trying to be tricky with mine.
Tricky.
I just thought Sandlot would have more baseball in it. Who would have thought?
Anyway,
email says, I want a new segment where you define acronyms. Seth talking about sports is my favorite thing. The Irish history with England is very legitimate. Watch The Wind That Shakes the Barley. And that's a movie that I've been meaning to watch for a while, so I will definitely bump that up. I love the word schlub. I use in it all the time. I think it's funny.
Wow.
I've never used the word in it in my day-to-day.
I haven't thought about in
try.
it until this person
every
just
other
said it.
word in that movie.
And same thing with schlub. Schlub is a good word, and it flows nicely off the tongue.
P.S. Seth naming Spice Girls was 10 out of 10.
Agreed.
And we got a few comments on that. I don't know why. PSS, I have the same EDM story as Seth. And at first I was like, what is EDM? But then I guess it's electric dance music?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would listen to a show that started at midnight with a radio in bed. I never knew this. PSSS 3-star movie.
Woo.
And that email is from Ben. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. As always, our email king.
If you want to dethrone Ben as the email king, please send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Sports Month. And hey, This is it. The Big Lebowski. This is voted in by the patrons. This is the type of movie that I wanted to pick because it's like on the periphery of sports.
So you got your wish.
Yeah, I guess I did. I guess I did get my wish. Now you have seen this before.
I have, yeah, but I
like
remember
long time
nothing.
ago, or
yeah, and I think I fell asleep for most of it.
Oh, okay. See, so I would say that you haven't seen this before, then.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Like I knew some of the big things, and like the overall
the Big Lebowskis,
and the that's right, and the characters. But if you asked me last week what the story was, I wouldn't be able to tell you too much detail.
Well, if I asked you this week what the story was, would you be able to?
No,
because that's something, and that's not against you. A lot of people are like, this movie is very hard to define and very hard to nail down.
I can't wait to get into that, but should we write down each other's ratings?
Absolutely. So before we begin our discussion on the movie, we write down our predictions for what the other host is going to rate the movie. Whoever wins adds a pickle to our yearly pickle tally. You know, if someone listens to this show for the first time, I just feel like there's so much stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like,
I think about that a lot.
Pickle tally?
Yeah. I'm locked in.
I'm locked in. I'm rocking. This White Russian is hitting me hard. All right.
That's such a delicate sip to that straw.
Well, I don't think you can guzzle a White Russian.
I think you can guzzle anything if you put your mind to it.
So we are talking about The Big Lebowski from 1998, directed by Joel Coen, written by Joel and Ethan Coen, cinematography by Roger Deakins, composed by Carter Burwell, edited by Tricia Cook and Joel and Ethan Coen, costume design by Mary Zoffries, starring Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Julianne Moore, Steve Buscemi, David Huddleston, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tara Reid, and Peter Stormare, and some other people, but that's, I think, enough.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, you want to read our summary?
Sure. The dude has everything he's ever wanted. A nice rug, a bowling team, and a sweet collection of Creedence Clearwater Revival cassette tapes. What he also has is a name that he shares with a rich and powerful man whose wife has run afoul of some shady characters. Odd as it may be, the dude is put on the case of the missing wife, the missing money, and the missing toe. Who is behind the crimes? Jackie Treehorn? The nihilists? Maybe it's even the man himself, the Big Lebowski.
Well done.
Thank you. Well written.
See, this movie isn't that hard to nail down. It's a detective story.
Okay.
Unleash. Go for it.
This movie is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it is so hard to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I watched it with Aunt. We talked about it as it was happening. I usually don't do this. I listened to a couple of podcasts. So I was like, all right, I need the story kind of like read to me. I read multiple articles,
Okay.
Reddit forums. And
Yeah.
then I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to really understand this is if I read and then write it in my own words. And so I tried to write the plot.
Yeah.
And still, I'm like, I don't think there's anything really to get, or you can go so deep and be like, this is like a whole deep meaning and meanings of life and how people choose to live and
sure
religions and whatnot. Or you could just be like, this is a story and read that in Sam Elliott's voice.
What part are you getting sticky on?
Like the whole who's stealing money, who needs the money, who's behind all of it. There's multiple people.
Well, there is no money.
No, I know, but like, I know there's no money.
You threw a rainer for a rainer. I don't know.
Anyway, it's a good time. I just, story-wise, I have a hard time articulating it back. If someone were to quiz me, I'd have a really hard time.
The first time that I watched this, I kind of was in your shoes. And honestly, the first time I watched this, I didn't find it that funny. I had seen a lot of Coen Brothers films before I watched this one. I don't know why. I kind of avoided this one because I was like, everybody quotes this and loves it. It can't be that good, right? And then I watched it and I was just like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time following, like, where does Jackie Treehorn come in? Where does Maud come in? And then the nihilist, like, I didn't even put together the nihilist is the guy floating in the pool at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, everything seemed really, really random. And now I've seen this a bunch of times, and I feel like I have a handle, like, on the story.
You feel good about it.
I do. And the Coens say, they're like, don't worry about the plot. Like, if you're worried about the plot, you're missing the point of the whole thing.
I mean, okay, sure. But like, we're tuning in for a story, so.
Yeah. But, okay, but like on that, the story starts with a narrator.
And there you go. We were just talking about this last week.
Right.
Yeah.
But the narrator himself is meandering and says that he loses his train of thought.
Yeah.
Towards the beginning, we're zooming in on Jeff Lebowski, like, smelling half and half. And the narrator's like, sometimes there's a man, not a hero. What is a hero? Anyway, sometimes there's a man. And I'm talking about the dude here. But sometimes there's a man. It's like, spit it out. Like, what are we doing here? The other thing that really helped me get a handle on it this time around was realizing the movie is all about, like, lies, judging people by appearance, people pretending to be one thing and they're not. I think the only person who is exactly what he is Donnie. And Donnie's the only one who dies. And it's like, in this world of lies and like make-believe and like made-up characters and insane people, like, there's no room for just an earnest, nice little guy.
Yeah, but also Donnie is all of us because he's always like, wait, what? What is happening? Oh, wait, snack break. Can we go to In-N-Out and get burgers? So Donnie is all of us.
Donnie feels like a little boy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, hey, dude, that's your name. I love Donnie in this.
I do too.
Like, Steve Buscemi is usually playing like a scary guy or an intense guy. And here he's just a little boy. Donnie's also the only one that we really see bowling. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think John Goodman throws one ball. We never see the dude bowl ever, which is pretty funny. And that plays into the whole thing of like the dude is a bowler who never bowls. The Big Lebowski is a rich guy who has no money.
Mm-hmm.
The nihilists don't care about anything, but they care about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's no authentic characters except for Donnie and maybe Maud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maud
I don't
knows.
know.
Maud knows what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
She gets what she sets out for.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, much respect to Maud.
I don't know where to begin with this.
I don't either. I said to Anne, I'm like, I don't know how Seth is going to talk about this movie. And we are halfway through, like 3/4 through the White
Halfway
Russian.
through White Russian, so.
Imagine if you drank and I smoked on this episode. Whoa, Nelly. Maybe I would get this a little bit more.
Well, a good place to begin is that the dude is based on a real guy, Jeff Dowd. A few episodes back on our Rocky episode, I mentioned that Jeff Fierzig, who directed Devil and Daniel Johnston and who I did an interview with last year, he had done a 30 for 30 on the real Rocky. Well, guess what, folks? He also did a documentary short on the real Jeff Lebowski, who's based on a dude. Yeah, man.
Wow,
It's
this
called
Jeff is coming in clutch.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Jeff Fierzig.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, so he did this thing called The Dude, and it's about Jeff Dowd, the real guy that Jeffrey Lebowski's based on. He was like a film producer that the Coens got hooked up with, and they just got a crack out of this dude. Got a crack out of this dude?
Sure. If you roll with anything with confidence, it can work.
And so they were like, hey, let's, basically, wouldn't it be funny if this funny guy that we knew had to solve like a private investigator case? And I think sometimes with directors, it's like, what were they going for? What are they trying to? I think it's obvious with the Big Lebowski. They're trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like people talk about this movie like it's this big like hard puzzle to solve or like this ever evolving Rubik's Cube. It's just a comedy. It's like a dumb comedy, actually, I think.
Yeah, but it's so different to me than a typical stoner flick.
Sure. I don't know how you feel. Maybe it's just the changing time. The weed usage in this film didn't really stand out to me this time around.
No. I think, because it's so different, like he'll have like a little joint or something. That's always been, I like to see it, and it's my preferred way to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me a bong, don't give me a pipe, don't give me a vape.
Sure.
Just like basics, And so maybe that's why it didn't stick out to me as much.
Yeah.
And I also want to preface it, like, I don't really smoke, so I don't have a leg to stand on here.
Michelle's an expert.
No, Michelle's not. But yeah, because this is kind of labeled as a stoner slacker film.
Yeah, I just didn't see it that way this time around because I feel like the weed use, like it's happening, but to me, it's almost the same as smoking a cigarette in this movie.
Agreed.
It's not
and is it because the dude is the same?
Right, he's the same all the time.
All the time. So like the alcohol and the weed consumption doesn't really affect.
Yeah.
We don't see the sober version versus the high, tipsy, drunk version, intoxicated, if you will.
Yeah. It's not
so
like
maybe that's why.
3 of the characters are like, oh man, we're in a pickle. Quick, let's go smoke this really quick.
Right.
And then they smoke and they open the doors and you get clouds of smoke and then they're acting different. He's the same.
It's the same.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah, I think that's why.
As far as tackling this movie, I think we do what we always do. We'll go through the different characters,
Okay.
Jeff Bridges. Jeff, the dude Lebowski. Do you hate him? Do you like him?
No, I like him.
Do you think he's doing good?
I think he's doing good. I like him.
Sorry, that was my mini straw.
I love his voice. It's very soothing to me. And then I was going through Jeff Bridges' filmography. I'm like, wow, I've seen nothing. How is that possible? And yet I know this name, and maybe it's because of this movie.
It's possible. I mean, Jeff Bridges, I feel like, is just like one of those Hollywood guys. Like, he's around. But, like, right now, if you had to name like 10 Tom Cruise films, right, you'd probably do it. If I had to name 10 Jeff Bridges films, I might have a little bit of trouble.
So I'm not alone in this camp.
I don't think so. I mean, he does have some great stuff. Hell or High Water is awesome. The Last Picture Show, awesome. The Last Unicorn, great little cartoon there. Starman. But yeah, I think for like general population, he's the dude.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I don't know that any of these other roles have, risen to this type of prominence. I rewatched a movie of his recently, Tideland, which I do not recommend, where he plays a dad, and then he plays like a dead corpse for half of the movie.
Is that why you don't recommend it? Because you want a live Jeff? It's just
many other reasons why.
Oh, interesting.
All right, I finished my White Russian.
Good job. Now we can let that swim around in you.
If only there was another one.
Oh no, are you making another? Oh! Oh, wow.
All right, we're on to number 2.
Sethy. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
I vowed
Okay.
to drink as many White Russians in this episode as Jeff Bridges does throughout the Big Lebowski.
Do we know why the White Russian is the drink of choice?
No, but for me, like, my answer for every question in this is just because it's funny. Like,
sure.
If you go to the type of detective story that they're parodying here, The Long Goodbye, those private detectives, they've always got like a glass with like, whiskey in it or something. And so what's the funny version of that?
A milky drink?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I love Jeff Bridges in this. I think that he's so good. A lot of times his name will come up when people say, who is like the most perfectly cast actor for a role, because he just embodies this so well. It doesn't feel like he's acting. It doesn't feel like he's doing a character,
I agree with you. And I thought about that when I was watching, because I'm like, it's so effortless. And I think it could be very hard to act effortless.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty much one note the entire film until the end. And with Walter and at Donnie's send-off. But I think that would be really hard to actually act out and come off genuinely.
Yeah. I think about him at the door with the landlord. He's not being funny.
No.
But he's still like the dude. Hey, dude, I got my showcase coming up. Could you come by and give me notes? He's like, yeah, far out, man. I'll be there. Then he's like, hey, it's the 10th already. He's like, all right, very cool. Like, he's just funny because he's funny. He's not having to do the silly stuff all the time.
Right.
And sticking up for the dude. The dude is actually a good detective. Like, he actually figures out what's going on.
Yeah, but I do think Walter is assisting him on some of those
Walter's assisting
thought processes.
And Walter is right, too, for sure.
I mean, Walter's unhinged, but...
Right, yeah. Like, when Walter's like, that's not her toe.
Yeah.
When you watch in the movie for the first time, you're like, Walter, like,
he's like, I could get you a toe by 3 p.m.
Right.
You need a toe, I got you.
The toes are so focused on, and it's such a good trick that the Coens play, because when you first meet Bunny, the great Tara Reid, right? Before American Pie, by the way, she's painting her toes, and she asks the dude to blow on them, and it's like so focused on, so that later on when it shows up as the audience, you're like, I've seen that toe. It's the right color and everything.
Yeah.
So then when Walter is like, that's not her toe, you're like, Walter, you're an idiot. and we know that you're an idiot. We've seen you be an idiot for this whole movie. You're crazy. And then it turns out that he's right. And I kind of feel like that with the dude too. Like he's so silly and over the top, but he figures out the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's the one who figures out that there was never any money and that the big,
Yeah. Okay.
And then when he's at Jackie Treehorn's and Jackie takes a phone call and then, furiously scribbles something down and leaves the room, the dude like leaps into action. And does the pencil thing. Like, that's good detective work.
It is good detective work. I just want to interject on Treehorn.
Yeah, please. So, Ben Gazzara, the great Ben Gazzara.
We're watching, and I say to Ann, I was like, wait, pause it. I was like, the other day, I sent Seth a review commenting on another review on Thank You Very Much. And this person was commenting that they didn't like the tone of voice that they originally wrote in this review. And I was like, I think the guy's name was Treehorn. I think. And so then I look and I was like, oh, never mind. It was Joby Treegoob. Do you remember this? I sent you a review and and then someone commented and I thought in my head it was Treehorn, but it was actually Joby Treegoob.
Treegoob. How much better would Jackie Treehorn be if he was like, hello, I'm Joby Treegoob?
We had a good laugh about that. And it was like,
wow.
you thought it was that. I was like, how do I forget Joby Treegoob? Anyway, Jackie Treehorn.
Right. Jackie Treehorn.
Yeah.
One scene. And a lot of these people, it's like one scene, 2 scenes, you're in, you're out.
Yeah, right.
John Turturro as Jesus.
Whoa.
2 scenes, you're in, you're out.
What's the deal with this spinoff sequel movie? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's terrible.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it establishes that he actually wasn't like a perv, that it was like a misunderstanding or that he was framed somehow.
Now, the Coen brothers gave their blessing, but they didn't write this story, right, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, if people, if the word of mouth on it was like, hey, this rules, By the way, listeners, if you're not familiar, John Turturro requested from the Coen brothers use of this character, Jesus, to make a spin-off sequel that he wrote and directed and starred in. It's called The Jesus Rolls, and from what I've heard, it's terrible. So I'm not rushing out to see it. Mm-hmm. But hey, if you've seen it, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. The clink of the ice. Okay. But yeah, so many characters that have become like, pop culture fixtures. It's just very little in this movie. I mean, Bunny.
I know.
Bunny's in the beginning, and then we see her driving at the end. Is that it?
And I think again when she comes home, because she just went away for the weekend.
Right. She's running around. Yep.
That's
we
it.
See her in a little bit of a flashback. But I mean, great cast, obviously.
Great.
Julianne Moore as Maud Lebowski.
That accent.
Jeffrey. Yes. He threw arena for arena.
That's pretty good. And I like her little friend, who Aunt thought was Gary Oldman, but it wasn't.
No, and the reason he thinks it's Gary Oldman is because it's David Thewlis who plays Lupin.
Yes, I know.
To Gary Oldman's Sirius Black.
Yes, and that's the route we went when we looked that up. But he was great too. Talk about side characters. Guy. You hate him?
Oh my God, he's my least favorite part of this movie.
Oh, I think he's like a little fun treat.
He's a little tree goob.
He's a little tree goob.
No, I can't. I don't know why, but both times I watched this for this episode, I was like, just get him out of here.
Is it apparently his laugh that irritates you?
Maybe. Apparently, the Coens were like, hey, this scene is going to be just exposition between Maud and Jeff. So we can't have that. We got to put something in there. And so they wrote this weird little guy part. And I love David Thewlis. I think Thewlis is great.
Right. I could only hope that one day I could just be the weird little guy in a movie.
That's what you want.
I want to be the weird little guy.
You want to be the guy who shows up for like 45 seconds total screen time. And everybody
Totally.
walks out being like, what was up with that person?
What was the point? Or I hated
Right.
them.
Right. And I think throughout this whole thing, you can't look for a point.
Yeah.
The point is to just be funny. And I think the framework is, hey, let's make fun of detective stories, basically. And they would go on to do almost the same thing in one of their films, Burn After Reading, which is like one of my favorites of theirs. But in that, they're more doing like a spy espionage kind of a story. And it almost ends kind of in the same exact place. And spoiler alert for Burn After Reading, if you don't want to hear it, hit that 15 plus ahead button a few times. But at the end of that movie, the two characters are talking and they're like, what did we learn? And the guy's like, I don't know, not to do it again. And he's like, okay. And like all of this stuff happens. And it's the same thing in Big Lebowski. There's all this noise and yelling and swearing and Uzis and toes. And at the end of it, it's like the nihilists are like, okay, fine, then just give us the money that you have on you right now.
Right.
That's what it all boils down to, is like $4.
Yeah. It's just a story.
And it's funny.
Just a story.
But anyway, back to Maude, Julianne Moore. How did you find her?
I love her. I loved every scene with her. My favorite was probably when after they have sex and she's doing like she's on the bed and she's like has her
Rocking.
knees into her chest and rocking. She's trying to make sure, that sperm does its job. I loved it. It was great. And then to find out it's like, oh, I want to have a child, but I want to make sure the father will never be involved. And so that's why I chose you.
Both Lebowskis are using this guy.
Right.
I think there's a lot that you can read into the Big Lebowski. I don't necessarily know that the Coens intended for it, but this idea of like upper class and lower class, and you just kind of come across this guy and it's like, sure, I'll use you to make this really dangerous handoff, and I'll use you to create a baby, and then we'll just discard you. Like you're worthless.
You're disposable.
You're not a serious person. You're not a real person.
Right. Right.
You're not the Big Lebowski.
Right.
So how did you feel about the twist that the Big Lebowski doesn't have money and it's actually Maude?
I like that twist, but I feel on the first watch, I definitely missed that. Like I definitely probably was asleep during that point, but I do like it. And I do like the way we find out. And it's actually like Maude is the one giving him an allowance from her mother who passed away's inheritance. So yeah, that's good.
There's so much repeated dialogue, and that's one of the other, we can't know that the Coens necessarily intended all of these deeper meanings, but they definitely intended to use repeated lines and this idea that like the narrator says the dude is a man for the day that he's in, right? And people will claim that he's like, some kind of Zen philosopher. I reject that idea totally. I don't think that he's a loser. I don't think that he's dumb, but I don't think that he's intentionally walking some like higher path of existence than us, because
right, like he's a
super
stoic,
wise.
but he's not doing it on purpose. It's just
Right. Yeah, that's a really funny way of putting it.
It's just how he is.
But like in the very beginning, he's like watching TV and George Bush is like, this aggression will not stand. And so then when he goes to meet with the Big Lebowski, he's like, this aggression will not stand, man. And then Maude says, in the parlance of our time or something. And then he repeats that line later. Everyone is like repeating lines that they've heard other people say, probably subconsciously. Like, I don't think the dude is like racking his brain like, oh, what was that good thing I heard the other day? He's just kind of like an empty vessel on
Mhm.
which everyone else is like imprinting, and then he's regurgitating it.
When we get a little snippet of what the dude has done in his past,
Mm-hmm.
were you curious to learn more about him? Do you wish we got more about him? It's not this movie and it's not the story, but it adds another layer to him that he's not just a quote unquote loser slacker.
Yeah, well, I think for that is pulling from this detective private eye stereotype where if you've got a detective in the 50s or 40s, more than likely he would have served in the military. So what is this version of that? He didn't serve in the military. He was an anti-war demonstrator and political activist, and that was his backstory of establishing like, oh no, he is a serious guy. Like he's not just some joker. So I think that kind of is like a 1-for-1 copy of that like
Mm.
private eye archetype kind of a thing. And then we get a real private eye. And every time I watch this movie, I always forget, like when he's being followed, I'm like, what is going on? But again, everything in this movie means nothing. Everything that you think is going to be a big deal actually isn't a big deal. Like the second time the dude gets knocked out, it's just because Maud wants the carpet back. There's no sinister anything behind anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's
love the
all
fact that the dude, he's just like, yo, you took my carpet. That really makes room. I need a carpet. That's it. That's so simple.
Yep. So yeah, like the Big Lebowski gets hooked up with Bunny, who's not really Bunny.
Right.
She's using a fake name, and she's from like this deserted farm. Then he grows tired of her. She gets herself into trouble. I think that Bunny's having like the most fun out of anyone in this movie.
I think so too. Well, because she's not really aware of what's the. Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong. She has no age. Like she just went away, and that was
she
like
just went away to have
she just
fun.
went. And her nihilist buddies were like, "Oh, we can,
Right,
take advantage
right,
of the situation along with the BL.
right, right.
That's what we can call him, the BL."
Right. And I don't blame Bunny because again, she's from a deserted farm in the middle of nowhere. And now she's like in LA. She's married to a rich dude. She's going around town just going crazy. I read one review as I was pouring through the half-star reviews for this
Mm.
that was really harsh on this movie for its depiction of female characters, which of course is pretty much limited to Bunny and Maud. I disagreed with the Maud thing. Like you said, Maud like knows what she wants and she ends up getting what she wants. Also, Maud is the one who's like pulling all the strings that we don't know.
Yeah, she feels like she's in charge.
Yeah, like I thought Maud especially was depicted well. Yeah, she's depicted a little funny because she's like a experimental artist, but I didn't think she was depicted any more ludicrous than John Goodman or Jeff Bridges himself.
No,
But I don't know. What did you think about?
I didn't get that vibe at
Yeah.
all. Because to me, I was like, oh, this is a woman who's in charge, who's actually running the show, and who knows what she wants.
Yeah. I think that she's not even fully aware of all of the moving parts. Really, the only person who is the dude because he's the one who's interacting with all the different people. But like the Jackie Treehorn stuff, it's just so silly and just so nothing. Like it just amounts to
Yeah,
nothing. Like even Jackie Treehorn, who you could say is like the big criminal element to the movie, ultimately he just lets him go. Like he doesn't even care enough to actually do something.
right, right.
And what does he say? He's like talking about the future of
Of the like he wants,
digital
yeah, porn.
erotica or something.
Uh-huh. Hey.
Like even he's just like a loser. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I think also is from a business standpoint, like how can I advance the porn
yeah,
industry?
yeah.
I'm a
But
kingpin in
he's
this.
right. But like, so Ben Gazzara, great actor, 70s, 80s, really cool dude. And he's played some unsavory characters in the past. So this is like a bit of stunt casting. So if you're familiar with this dude and you see like, oh my God, Jackie Treehorn, the guy that Bunny owes money to, oh my God, it's Ben Gazzara. Like, wow, this is really, really sinister. All the way up to the dude doing the pencil. That it just turns out to be like a naked dude. You might really think that, oh wow, the dude's really in trouble now. And then it's just like, no, it's just kind of, poison his drink or spike his drink and then, drop him somewhere. Who cares?
Yeah, on to the next.
Yeah. How did you feel about the spiked drink dream sequence?
I think it was fine. It was a little entertaining, but like I'm saying, and I keep saying, is that like I think at this point I'm like, what are we doing? Do I have to care? Not that I don't care, but should I be collecting these bits of information because it's going to come all together in the end?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It didn't ruin it for me. But that's where I was during this.
But I love Maud. I think Julianne Moore is hilarious. I love that she just goes so weird and far with this crazy accent, and she's great. So I think the females are dealt with okay.
I mean, are they talking about like the visual representation of women? So when they're on the parachute and just like naked women flying in the air. I mean, is that what people are having a problem with? Maybe of how women are depicted?
Maybe. I mean, I think I'm not gonna pretend that Bunny isn't depicted as like a young, dumb, blonde.
Sure, of course, yeah.
But again, I think enough is given for us to just be like, oh, Bunny's just like having a good time,
right? I mean, that's how I took it.
I didn't take her sinister or like gold digger.
No,
you know what I mean. Let's turn this around on the Big Lebowski here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, John Goodman as Walter, saving the best for last. What did you think?
Yeah, so this is our second Coen's brother movie.
Mm-hmm.
The second time covering and talking about John Goodman in a Coen's brother movie. Fill me in here. The Coen brothers have a good relationship with John Goodman, I'm assuming. Love working with him, write characters for him.
We did Raising Arizona recently,
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
He also did Barton Fink with them. He's in The Hudsucker Proxy. Big Lebowski is their 7th movie. Like they are established American filmmakers, and I believe they had won the Oscar for writing for Fargo. So, real deal here. So yeah, I mean they continued to work with John Goodman. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He's in that one. He's in Inside Llewyn Davis. Yeah. So consider yourself filled in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yes, I think Walter is a really good partner to the dude and the dude's personality. They complement each other nicely. And Walter could be so unhinged to the point where sometimes you're just like, oh, please don't. But then he'll say something really funny and you're like, yes, okay, I'm along for this ride. I very much enjoyed him and his character.
As I watched it this time around, I was like, oh no, I am the Walter to Michelle's dude.
No way. I wish I had some dude energy in me.
You don't think so?
That's very kind that you think that. And I would love to come off that way, but I am very internally high strung and anxious. So, but yeah, I would say out of the two of us, you're definitely the Walter. But that's good because you usually are the one who's driving this, and not in like a I'm lazy and I'll go with it, but you'll be like, yeah, we got to do this. And I'll be like, yes, we do. Let's do it.
The Walter just inserts
we all need a
himself.
Walter.
I actually think that we do. Walters are super annoying, but like his idea, it's so half-baked, but it is kind of a good idea. It's like, hey, look, if we just throw a ringer and then grab one of them and beat the crap out of them, we get to keep the money and we save the girl.
I mean, yeah, just throw some dirty undies.
Yes.
Like, not even an empty case. We're going to fill it with undies.
My laundry, dude. The whites. Walter, he's absolutely insane. I watched this really fun interview. It's like 30 minutes long, maybe, for Good Morning America. Jeff Bridges, Steve Buscemi, and John Goodman just talking about their experience making the movie and working with the Coens. And then, you know, the whole like Lebowski Fest thing, or Dude Fest, or whatever they call it. Gathering of the dudes. I don't remember. But John Goodman is like, I don't know that Walter actually served in Vietnam. Or if
I
he
was
did.
wondering that.
Yeah, like, or if he did, that it wasn't actually as like, you know, in the action as he like claims it to be. And his reasoning was, he was like, anyone who served in Vietnam did not want to talk about it. And that's all Walter will talk about, you know. So he's like, I have a really like sneaking suspicion that that's all made up.
Yeah, it's either made up or he has such awful PTSD that this is the reason why he is the way he is.
But that would fit with the theme of the rest of the movie, where everyone is saying that they are one thing and they are not that thing.
Yeah, right.
Walter converts to Judaism because of his ex-wife.
Yeah, I mean, just because you get divorced, you don't turn in your library card. You don't stop being Jewish.
Which, like, okay, that's true.
Listen, if you have to go through that process and convert, sure.
Yeah, you stick with it.
That's right.
What does he say? 3,000 years of tradition from Moses to Sandy Koufax. And then Shomer Shabbos. I don't roll on Saturdays. It's great. It's great. Every part of Walter is really great, and I do find it to be very exasperating, but
yeah,
I think you need to have that with a character like the dude, because if not, the movie would just be way too laid back.
Yeah, because then it's two stoners, quote unquote, in the relax-a-daisy way. And it's just, that's, like you said, it's just too easygoing. You need someone who's high energy.
Yeah.
I love that he has to watch his ex's dog.
Oh my God.
And it's clearly not a Pomeranian.
Well, so I'm not a dog person, but I was wondering if you would confirm this for me, that's not the right. No. And even the animal that they drop in the tub, when the dude sees it, he says, "Whoa, nice marmot."
Yeah.
So nothing in this movie is real. Like, nothing is real. It's all fake. It's all, again, like appearances and misjudging people, or like just context clues. This is a great movie for like why context clues cannot guide you through life.
100%. Is Sam Elliott real?
Good question.
Also another great voice. Like, could Sam Elliott narrate my life movie?
The only reason I would say that Sam Elliott is real is because he talks to the bartender and the bartender talks to the dude, and the bartender's real. If he only talked to the dude, I would say no. Jeff has like made a narrator in his own mind or something. But then I don't know how that works, because he also talks to the camera. But
he's also telling the dude's story. And so
it's very,
you just let it go. You just let it be.
It could happen to you.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because Angel in that movie is talking straight to the camera.
Right.
He's also the narrator, but then he's also a real character who interacts with the people in the movie.
He's a patron of their diner. He works for the New York Post in that movie.
I guess the Coens took a lot of inspiration from It Could Happen to You for this movie.
Imagine.
One thing I thought was really funny, I found an interview with Joel and Ethan from this time. There's this great interviewer. Her name is Bobby Wygant. And she is just like the nicest older lady. She wears like colorful suits, and she talks to directors just so nicely, but she'll also ask them kind of like pointed, funny questions. It never feels like it's coming from like a gotcha kind of a way. It always just, it's like almost like a kid say the darndest thing kind of a way, where you're like, oh my God, this woman is so great. So she interviews Joel and Ethan for this, and she's like, I was laughing, and sometimes I didn't know why I was laughing, but I think that with a Coen Brothers movie, you either get it or you don't. Is that true?
Oh.
Like, you know Martin Short's character Jiminy Glick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bobby Wygant is kind of like the nicest version of Jiminy Glick.
I love it.
In that interview, which I recommend everybody go watch, Ethan says that he thought that this was broad comedy that most people would get.
Well, the person who's watching this for broad comedy, would they accept if they don't get the plot?
Good
Does that make
question.
sense? In
It's
my
a
head,
good
that made sense.
question.
There's a particular person who's watching this and will find it super
Yeah,
funny.
you go to watch a comedy, you're not caring. You're there to laugh.
Right. And I'm bringing up the plot of this because we're having a discussion and this is
Of
a
course.
movie podcast. But if I was to have like a very simple conversation on this, I'd be like, oh, it's funny. But there's a certain type of person, I think, I don't know, if a person who's going in it for the broad comedy, quote unquote, they would, I don't know if that person would need a plot.
Right.
Wouldn't need a plot. I
Right.
think I just confused myself.
Well,
I definitely did.
so this movie did not do well, upon
Mm.
initial release, and it wasn't until DVD sales and then people watching it. And I think that because the weed usage was at the forefront at a time where that wasn't at the forefront in movies, that it got put into this category of like stoner comedy or stoner movies just by association, or not by, that's not the right word, but like it became like, oh, okay, this is something that we watch because weed is represented, and how many movies are representing weed like this?
Right.
So, college dudes are watching this, and then they're watching it over and over and over and over and over again, and it becomes this like huge thing for, college students around the year 2000.
Mm.
And, we're still seeing so if you were, 20 in the year 2000 and you're watching The Big Lebowski on repeat and you think it's hilarious, you're only 45 now. Like, that's still well within the conversation of like pop culture. So I'll be curious to see where the Big Lebowski stands 20 years from now.
On like a
Like,
comedic level?
Well, if the next generation picks it up for that same reason or different reasons, because now
Yeah.
it has entered, the American canon and like lexicon and shorthand and all that stuff. But yeah, my jaw dropped when Ethan was like, he's like, yeah, like we thought this was a broad comedy, kind of like when we did Raising Arizona, and they were like, this is our sellout movie.
Which is crazy because to me, it would be like The Big Lebowski would be the sellout movie.
This is your idea of selling out? Like Raising Arizona? This is what you thought was going to hook, middle America? Like,
Though, not that you have to pick a favorite, but I like Raising Arizona more.
that's so tough, man. That's such a tough question between those two.
They're different, and I like them both. But Raising Arizona was like I don't know. After rewatching this, I'm like, wow, I really liked Raising Arizona more.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that The Big Lebowski is kind of like rich, and there's more depth to everything that's going on. Again, just like the double speak, the repeating thing. Raising Arizona is very funny, and it still is like one of my favorites of theirs. But I do feel like it's more surface level, where I think that The Big Lebowski, the more you watch it, more is revealed and there's more to see. Where with Raising Arizona, I think you get it the first time, if that makes sense.
Oh, that is yes. You definitely get it the first time.
I don't know if I could even compare those two, but I think I would say I like Raising Arizona more.
I want to hear your thoughts on the bowling of it all. This is our last
This is Sports Month.
movie for Sports Month.
Yeah.
And truth be told, patrons, when Seth gave me the movie, I was like, what? This is what we're covering for the last movie for Sports Month?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys always spice it up. And we always love a patron choice.
Absolutely.
There's definitely bowling in this movie, but it's not centered around the movie. Would you consider this a sports movie? I personally would not.
I think that this is as much of a sports movie as The Sandlot is, at least, because we keep going back to the sports. We know that a league tournament is coming up. We keep working towards that. We end at the tournament. We're talking about bowling throughout. I think that this qualifies, and it's on the outskirts for sure, but I think so.
Do you like to bowl?
I like to bowl, but the thing about bowling is if you don't do it regularly, you hurt your shoulder because
I
you're
was going to
throwing
say you
like a
become bad again.
well no, it's like, hey, if I handed you, like how much does a bowling ball weigh? 5
I
pounds,
think it
10 pounds?
depends, doesn't it? Weight-wise?
I don't know. Let's say 10 pounds. That sounds fair, right?
Sure.
If I was like, hey, take this 10-pound weight and throw it. And then I was like, okay, now do it again. Okay, now do it 30 times in an hour. Eventually you might be like, oh, this hurts,
Yeah.
So that's my big beef with bowling.
We could call you the big beef bowler. I took bowling in college as a gym class with Andrew.
Oh my God.
If you
Come
could
on.
imagine. And the worst part, which I guess this was the whole point of bowling for this class, is you had to by hand keep score.
Oh, horrible. That
And
turns
when I
into a math
tell
class.
you, I made everybody else do it. I couldn't tell you how it works. Math, me, numbers and math, not my thing.
That's another thing that I hate about bowling is it's like, okay, I went up and on my first one, I got 5 pins. And on my next one up, I got the other pins. So then I got to go again and I got 2 pins. And so my score was 1. Like I don't I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I know. I was
And then
terrible.
it's like, oh no, you don't get to shoot the last frame because
Yeah,
what are
right?
you, come on, nerds. What are you doing?
Whole semester, I could tell you nothing.
No,
I'm
I
not
couldn't.
a good bowler.
No, I've been bowling many a time in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
every single time I do not. I just, whatever the little computer screen tells me, I'm like, sure.
Just tell me when to go. I'm up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds good.
I do have to mention Philip Seymour Hoffman quickly.
He's the only one with a legitimate job who's working.
Maybe.
Brant is so good. He's
Unless
so good.
you've heard the theory that Brant is the Lebowski's son.
Oh, I mean, even still.
And like he doesn't actually have a job. He just putters around the house telling people how great they are.
That's still a job, though.
Okay.
He's making phone calls. It's still a job.
Right. That is true. I don't mean to minimize Brant's experience, but he's very funny. Philip Seymour Hoffman rules.
Yeah.
And he's very funny, and it's tragic that we lost him.
Pour one out for Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Take a sip of White Russian. Now, I think that you and I could sit here and just like say funny lines to each other for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Not super interested in doing that. But did you have a favorite line or a line that sticks out to you?
There were a lot. There's one that Walter says, "Life does not start and stop at your convenience, you miserable piece of shit." and honestly, I just feel like that's just really a good line for life. And I would love to repeat that to certain folks. And then this is no nom, this is bowling. There are rules. So that could pair with this being a sports movie.
Yes, there are. Yeah, like the dude is so willing to just like let a lot of things slide, go with the flow. Oh, it's the 10th? All right, I'll give you the rent. Oh, your foot was over the line? yeah, whatever, market 8. And just so many, like he shows up to the Big Lebowski's house and he's sitting there staring into the fire and he hands him this ransom note. If it were me, I'd be like bugging out. Like, are you accusing me of that? Like, what? I don't want to be here. And the dude is just like, whoa, bummer.
Yeah. Is the dude the one that says it's along the lines, and I'm definitely misquoting, but I forgot how it goes. But someone says, "Oh, that's exhausting."
Yes, Bunny says to him, he's a nihilist. He doesn't care about anything. And the dude says, oh, sounds exhausting.
I love that. I love that. Another favorite of mine.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite line, and it's the delivery, it's the movement, it's saving the drink in the end, and it's something that I say to myself maybe every single day, is careful, man, there's a beverage here.
Yeah, it's great. That's great.
It's like you are being kidnapped. You're being forced into a car while you're embroiled in like a kidnapping plot and people are following you and there's Jackie Treehorn and all of this crazy stuff is happening and all you can say is like, dude, don't spill my drink. Like, come on, man. Like, I'll go with you, but hey, respect my drink. It's so funny. All right, I have finished White Russian number 2.
Wow.
It'd be crazy if I had a third one, right?
It would be crazy. Do you really? No, Seth.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Shut it down.
You know what happened is I made it and then I went to pour it and I was like, this is too much for 1 cup. So
you split it in 2.
Hence the 2. So this movie was made for $15 million. Goes on to make $46 million at the box office. Currently has 80 on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.1 on Letterboxd, 71 on Metacritic. This is not in the Criterion Collection, but, ladies and gentlemen, this was added to the National Film Registry with the Library of Congress in 2014. So only 16 years after it was made, they were like, this has to go in immediately.
Remember last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever I was like, I'm on a mission to learn.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, you do. I'm sure you do. I haven't had time in the last week to learn, but
Sure,
what
of
is the
course.
criteria for getting into this? Like, do they tell you this made it in because?
Well, they do. There's a universal criteria. Their goal is to preserve films that are deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant to American film heritage.
You know how we have the Seth Shell test? I feel like we
Yes.
should have our own canon.
Oh, the Movie Friends Film Registry?
Yeah, and what we would put in there. Not that we need another segment, but maybe it's something we could work into the docket because there have been times we've talked about movies that we love, but wouldn't that be cool? And then we could be like, this is in the. Imagine if Movie Friends somehow became like Rotten Tomatoes or a prestige rating system that means nothing, but it looks like something.
Right. Yeah. 2 goofballs.
2 goofballs.
I think if we picked 10 movies from each year, maybe 12, 1 a month.
Why does it have to be each year? You're overcomplicating it.
Each year of the podcast, at the end of the year, we pick 12 movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes,
to enter.
Yes. And then
or maybe less. Maybe even less. Maybe 6, 3 each. Yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned, folks.
I'm sure they're like, great.
But yes, this was added National Film Registry 16 years after its release because they were like, we need to preserve this for future generations. Initially, Ebert rated this 3 stars. He then went back and upgraded it to 4 and included it in his list of great films.
Wow.
And the production dates for this went from January to April. Pretty good. Pretty respectable. All right, let's get into our happies and crappies.
It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crap. It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crap. It's time for happies.
All right, Michelle, take it away.
My happy is how would we the dude's jelly sandals.
Oh, yes.
Obsessed. I wore jelly
Mhm.
sandals as a kid. I would love them as an adult. So absolutely love the jelly sandals.
Wouldn't jelly sandals give you just blisters
You
at every
think?
contact
You
point?
you think they don't though? They didn't for
Man.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My crappy is when they dunk the ferret in the tub.
Sure. That had to be a puppet.
Sure, but even still, I just like last week, fence
Right.
falling on Hercules.
Don't put a fence on that big dog.
Any animal getting abused
Yeah.
or hurt. Not a fan.
Got it. I have two happies. One, like I mentioned, the first time I watched this, I really didn't get it. And the only part that made me laugh out loud fully is when the nihilists pull out a saber at the final confrontation and you get a real sword drawing sound.
Uh-huh.
But then this time around, my happy is Donnie. Everything that he says, the looks that he gives. I love that Donnie's like the best bowler on the team, maybe. And then before his heart attack, he doesn't hit a strike. And he's like, something is off. Like something is wrong. And even though he's very much in the background, the movie is still paying attention to him, giving him stuff. Anyway, love Donnie so much. My crappy is David Thewlis at Maud's place. I just find him so annoying. I don't get that scene. I
love his
I'm
laugh. Oh my gosh. I love it.
I'm just not on the wavelength for it. I don't know why. I don't know.
Okay. It didn't land for you.
No. So I asked some friends on the internet what they thought. Paul Muad'Dib at Trig Raptor, he says, I'm going to watch my 4K version in prep for this, and it came with this nifty film frame. You know how sometimes they'll put film frames in the stuff that you buy?
Ooh.
So that's
cool.
the dude and Maud in their dream sequence dance number.
I love the dude's outfit in that, the white jumpsuit.
It's insane.
It's
It's
so
not like
good.
he wears a jumpsuit.
No, I know.
Well,
it's so good.
okay, so I guess he's wearing the jumpsuit that the nihilist is wearing in Logjammin' as the repair guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, wow. I never put that together until just now.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Moppin at Scott Moppin says,
Hey, Scott.
this movie was the first time I had ever heard of the fast food place In-N-Out, and I thought it was a fake restaurant name they just made up for the movie. I wouldn't learn that it was a real place until 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
A Ton of Bricks at A Ton of Bricks.
Miss, that I can't help it every time I hear it. And I've been holding back every week. Remember A Ton of Brick, Miss?
Of course. The Christmas names.
Bring it back.
They say this movie is truly one of the all-time greats, unendingly quotable, exciting, heartbreaking, and among the funniest movies ever made. 18 months into the pandemic with no haircuts, I went to the Maryland Renaissance Festival looking like this. So yeah, I like this film.
That's so great. Seth
And
is
then he
showing
shared
me a
a
picture
photo,
of them dressed as the dude. Wow, that's great.
which is pretty good.
Yeah, spot on.
Sean Shank
Hey,
at
Sean Shank.
Tyler_Burnham says, I submitted The Big Lebowski, my favorite Coen Brothers movie, as an outside-of-the-box pick because there is a lot of bowling in this movie. I was hoping Seth and Michelle might have some ideas as to what the Coens may have been saying about bowling or bowling culture, if anything.
Wow.
And I was in Lebowski mode this week, reading a lot, watching interviews, and one of the best things that I heard, which I'll just parrot here, is like bowling culture hasn't changed pretty much ever, and it helps make the movie very timeless. And even though this is a super LA movie, bowling is across the whole country. It's not. Golf is also across the whole country, right? But I feel like bowling is super democratic.
Yeah, and I think, much more than golf, and also in terms of class.
Yeah, bowling is just there. Like, there's a bowling alley, you go. If you know how to do it, if you don't, kid's birthday party in one corner, there's a bar in the other. Bowling is for everybody. And so it really helps make the movie like super universal and timeless.
I agree to that. And bowling
Yeah.
alleys really have not been updated unless you go to one that's recently been built.
Right. And thank you, Sean, for submitting the movie.
Thanks, Sean.
I feel like we kind of got a sneak, we ticked off a big box here with the Big Lebowski.
You think so?
Sure, this is a huge movie.
I'll take your word for it, Seth.
The Power of John at John Cleta.
Hey, John.
Says, oh man, I revisit this movie every few years and it makes me laugh at something new every time. The rug, the toe, the ferret, the one-liners in this film. Only the Coen brothers could have pulled off such an odd, yet masterfully hilarious movie. The Dude Abides. And I agree. This feels like you can't make this. No one could make this. This is the inside jokes and what tickles like two very specific people. And I did hear, I think it was Joel said, after the success of Fargo, which they were surprised by, they were like, we should just make whatever movie we want. Because if a movie like Fargo can be like widely accepted and acclaimed, nothing, just make whatever. And then they make the Big Lebowski. And apparently they were going to make the Big Lebowski at a different point in their career, and they couldn't because like John Goodman was doing Roseanne. It just like didn't line up. It's Holly! Exclamation point, pride flag. At not GH_Holly.
Whoa.
And I believe last time we were like, what's the real story here? Are you Holly or are you not? Says, I had never heard my dad laugh out loud at a movie before. Only ever a slight chuckle or the corner of his lip curling. Donnie's ashes nearly broke him. I'll never forget that.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
And that's a great scene.
Yeah, that is a great scene.
Throughout the movie, the dude is, taking Walter to task and being like, dude, Walter, you suck. Like, come on, man, calm down. But then finally at that point, he's just like, what's wrong with you?
Right. He loses
and then at the end, they're like, let's go bowling, whatever. Aiden Kidzierski at Aiden Keds.
Hey, Aiden Kids. Keds?
Keds. Remember?
Like sneakers.
It says a shoe, right?
Yeah, I love Keds.
Keds? Remember Steve Madden?
Sure, Steve Madden's still out there.
Remember the big heads?
Yes.
And the little bodies?
Whoa.
Who thought that was a good idea? The Steve Madden ads.
Wow.
Look up, folks out there, look up the original Steve Madden ads. They were interesting. Freaky. Yeah. Anyway, Aiden says, along with Hudsucker Proxy, it's the second Coen brothers film to feature a dream ballet. And I thought that was a good observation and worth pointing out. Late Night Pickwick at L8 Night Pickwick.
So late.
Yeah, well, yeah. Says, by far, to me, the Coen's best film. And it's because not a single actor is out of step with the film's intentions. This movie is profoundly rewatchable, but that's just my opinion, man.
Wow, it's a really good point. I very much agree to that.
So there's some people that we do know. Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from some people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. So these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is a website and an app where you can rate, review, and log films. We start with a 5-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a film. And we go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give a film. And for the 5-star review, do you have a request?
Can you just read it as the dude?
Okay, so normally I respect your wishes, but I gotta tell you, I actually practiced this and I can't do the dude, but I have an alternative.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna read it as Maud.
Okay.
All right, 5-star review says, if hell is real, then this movie will be on a loop, and John Goodman's character will be my roommate. I hate this movie so much. Don't try to convince me. We will never agree. 5-star.
That was great, Seth.
And this 5-star review, a surprise for you, comes from our good friend, Rashan Jamal, who hates this movie.
And feels this will be played on loop in hell.
Yes, if hell is real, then it's just Rashan and Walter as roommates.
Oh, no.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
So, sorry, Rashan. Hopefully we
didn't put you on blast on purpose.
Hopefully we gave you a better experience with this film than you've previously had.
Yeah.
Which sounds like it's not hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
3-star review says, in the genre of films that don't really go anywhere, this one is up there towards the top. The first couple of times I watched it, I really didn't care for it much. It has grown on me. I can't say I love it, but it does have a certain charm.
You know, that makes me think that every movie can be a winner.
Sure, wow. Every movie can be a winner.
Depending on what
quote.
Category you put it in.
Right. The only thing I disagreed with this in is I do think stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens.
Yeah, but you also said at the top of the show, nothing happens.
Nothing means anything. Like it's all just like, as we're watching it, we think, oh, this is going to lead to something. Nothing leads anywhere. But a lot of stuff does happen. John Goodman rolls out of a moving car with an Uzi. Come on.
Yes, a lot of stuff happens, but for nothing. I'm not saying that. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
But I think the point of the movie is that the dude abides. The dude exists and remains despite everything.
Right.
And like Sam Elliott's character says, I take comfort in that.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 5-star review says, The Big Lebowski is about nothing. Walter is a Jew, but he is not. Dude is the Lebowski, but he is not. The dude and Walter are bowlers, but we never see them play. They are nihilists, but they are not, since they care about money. Bunny is kidnapped, but she is not. The briefcase is full of money, but it is not. Donnie's ashes are thrown into the Pacific Ocean, but they go to the dude instead because he is more Pacific than the Pacific. The only thing this film stays true to is the characters themselves that we grow to love and become our friends as time goes by. And I think it's underrated in how clever that is due to how firm of a grasp the Coens have on their work. That's the magic of movies and the magic of this movie, making such a clever film seem so easy.
Wow. We should have just read that review and called it a day.
Yeah. I would have only had to take one sip out of a White Russian.
It took us an hour and 45 minutes to discuss all that beautifully said review.
We rate a film as a movie, a schmovie, or a film.
Yeah.
We rate it 1 through 5 stars, give our final recommendations, final thoughts. And we both won last week. So we'll just, Michelle, go first.
Sure.
All right. So for you, and maybe this is reaching a bit. Oh, no. I wrote down 4-star movie.
Okay. So that's what I will rate it on Letterboxd.
Okay.
But truthfully, it's a 3.8 movie for me.
Oh, I mean, that's so close.
I'm just saying. Like, it's more than a 3.5, but it's just a tiny bit lower than 4 stars for me. I
Got
can't
it.
really explain why that little smidge of those little
Sure.
arms of the stars, but I'm definitely recommending it if you haven't seen it. I think this is a really good time. I think it's funny. I was going to say I'm recommending it to certain people, but like I wouldn't recommend this to my sister because she wouldn't get
Sure.
it. But overall, yes, I enjoyed this. Good pick. Thanks, Sean Shank.
All right. Very
Okay.
good.
Oh, I'm sitting here like I'm like next. Okay. For you, I wrote down 4-star movie.
Very good. Michelle gets a pickle.
So we both kind of get pickles.
Do I get a
again.
pickle?
Well, yeah, because that's how I'm gonna rate it in Letterboxd.
Okay. All right. Hey, look, the more pickles, the better, right?
Wow. So we did really well this month.
We did. Sports month, it turns out.
Turns out.
Got us
Look
back
at that.
on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really come around on this movie to where I do think it's 4 stars, which to me means great movie. I think it is very funny. I don't laugh out loud. It's more like I'm in awe of how smart they are
Yeah.
and how the
Yeah.
movie just unravels in such a ridiculous kind of like breakneck speed while nothing's happening. That's very impressive. And I've seen this type of dialogue attempted, and it does not work. It doesn't work the same way here. So I recommend it. If you haven't seen it, for sure, you got to check it out. You gotta experience the dude for sure. So going over to our pickle tally. So far this year, Michelle has won 6 pickles and I have won 8.
Okay, I'm catching up.
Pretty good. I think halfway through the year, almost,
Yeah.
We're going to end up with like 20 pickles on our hands.
Mm.
Okay. Does this movie pass the Seth Shell test? The Seth Shell test is our spin on the Bechdel test, and it is as follows. This movie must contain something tangible that is impressive, whether that's choreography, production design, or a practical effect, and it must have a runtime that is justified by its content. This is going to sound really weird, but for me, I kind of think no.
See, I say yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Specifically, the bowling ball shot of the rolling.
And that's what I was thinking.
I was like, wow, this is great. And the runtime didn't bother me, so this is a yes for me.
Like, this would be a yes, but I feel like it would just be like a pity yes, I guess. Like, I do like the bowling stuff. And that's kind of why I was like, oh, this is definitely a sports movie. Because they put so much work into photographing the bowling,
I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think visually
this is a mess. We are all over the place.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to agree to disagree with us, we'd love it if you give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Unless it's you really disagree with us. In that case, keep it to yourself, mister.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? You know what's a great place to disagree with us in? Email form. Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about the Big Lebowski. I know that there's so much stuff that we didn't cover and facts and behind the scenes stuff, but you know what, listeners? You can literally find that anywhere. All of the stuff that I heard repeated over and over and over again, when I finally just went and looked at interviews with the cast and with the Coens, they said all of the stuff that I've heard repeated 100,000 times.
Yeah.
So guess what? The info's out there, okay? You can also support the show. What a lead in. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional shows, our patron-only Discord. You get to vote on episodes like this one and monthly themes. And you get added to Michelle's Inner Circle, where you get to decode the message at the end of this episode. Wowie zowie. All right, so hey, we kind of did sports.
That's a great way to tag this theme for this month. We kind of did sports.
We kind of did it. We covered some good movies, though.
We did. We covered
we
some
had a
good
good time.
We had a good time.
you know what? Gosh darn it. We may not have won, okay? The big game, but we had fun while doing it, and we learned a little bit about ourselves in the process. Okay?
It's a good point. You're not
So
wrong.
maybe we did learn something from Sports Month after all. Next time, it will be a little bit more focused, I think.
Maybe. We make no guarantees here.
Yeah. If Movie Friends should continue for 8 more years, maybe in year 7, we'll do basketball month or something, you know?
Uh-huh.
All right. So, hey, next month's theme, we're moving as far away from sports as possible. This is a weird theme.
This is a weird theme. I'm not going to
But,
lie. I had no say in this theme. When I saw it, I was like, what? Okay.
All right. For May, we're going to be talking about movies about movies.
Which, like, I love
Mhm.
TV shows about making of TV shows or making of movies.
There you go.
So I just have to think about that in film form.
First up in our series on movies about movies, we are going to be talking about Ed Wood from 1994, directed by Tim Burton. And I'll just read you the summary here. The mostly true story of the legendary worst director of all time, who, with the help of his strange friends, filmed countless B movies without ever becoming famous or successful.
It sounds like a tagline for myself. Don't you think? Someone
Sure.
who's a really
Yeah.
bad director, but with the help of their friends makes movies and never becomes famous.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good movie about actually making movies, and it's from, it's a period piece. It's good. You haven't seen this?
I have not only have I not seen it, but I've never heard of it. But I do love the year 1994, so I'm feeling real good about this one.
There you go.
And
there you go.
I'm excited for this genre because I love movies about movies and TV shows about movies and making the thing.
Yeah. All right, get out of here, sports. To the penalty box.
Sport 2.
Movies. Hooray.
Don't you feel like we need like suits now and the red carpet, and we're doing like a quick like change, and it's like our sports uniforms are ripped off of us. I'm like, let's go to the movies. Get on the great movie ride.
The movie show.
That's how I feel right now.
Okay. I feel like I drank 2 White Russians and a Diet Coke.
I know. Seth, you survived. Thank you for leading us. Forever grateful. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Sean. Thank you, patrons, and thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, patrons.
And thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, this isn't Viet Nam. This is bowling, and there are rules. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean-Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.
Incoming. Message incoming. Message to Michelle's inner circle. Remember, kids, only Michelle's inner circle can decipher this week's message. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Message number 1653, 67, 46, 64, 68, 47, 66, 100, 56, 63, 73, 74, 57, 74, 66, 67, 83, 67.
Michelle is counting on you. Do not let her down.